March 1942. Buffalo, New York. Winter light streams through the hangar windows of Bell Aircraft's factory floor, illuminating a scene that should represent American industrial might. 3 shifts, 7 days a week. Thousands of workers building fighters for a nation that's been at war for exactly 3 months. The aircraft sitting under those lights looks revolutionary. Sleek. Modern. Tricycle landing gear that makes it sit level like no other fighter in production. And in its nose, where the engine should be but isn't, a 37mm cannon. The most powerful aerial weapon mounted on any American fighter. A factory worker's wrench freezes mid-turn as the test pilot's words echo across the assembly floor. "I'm not flying that death trap." The pilot walks away. The 5th refusal that week. The aircraft sits gleaming. Abandoned. They call it the P-39 Airacobra. By March 1942, test pilots had another name for Bell's revolutionary design. The flying coffin. What this pilot doesn't know, what none of them can imagine, is that halfway around the world, this death trap will become the most feared sound in German skies. The problem isn't immediately obvious. Look at the specifications and the P-39 appears to be exactly what America needs. That 37mm cannon can punch through armor plate like tissue paper. 4.30 caliber machine guns provide additional firepower. The tricycle landing gear eliminates dangerous ground loops that kill pilots in conventional fighters. The design is actually brilliant. In theory. Bell's engineers moved the Allison engine behind the pilot, creating perfect weight distribution and opening space in the nose for that devastating cannon. A long drive shaft runs beneath the cockpit floor, connecting engine to propeller through complex gears and bearings. That drive shaft creates vibrations that rattle through the entire aircraft. Pilots describe it as sitting on top of a washing machine running at full speed. Precision flying becomes nearly impossible. Gun accuracy, critical in aerial combat, suffers dramatically. Worse, the engine placement means any mechanical failure sends metal fragments and flames directly toward the cockpit. In a conventional fighter, engine problems happen in front of you. You can see them coming. You have seconds to react. In the P-39, they happen behind you. Often with no warning until fire starts licking at your back. But the aircraft's most damning flaw becomes apparent the moment pilots try to climb. The Allison V-1710 engine. Powerful at sea level. But above 12,000 feet? It chokes. It wheezes. It struggles for every foot of altitude. German Messerschmitt Bf 109s cruise comfortably at 25,000 feet. Japanese Zeros operate even higher. A P-39 pilot trying to intercept enemy bombers finds himself struggling for altitude while enemy fighters dive on him from above with all the advantages of speed and position. This isn't an inconvenience. This is a death sentence. Colonel Bruce Holloway. Evaluating the P-39 for combat deployment, February 1942. His assessment circulates through Army Air Forces headquarters. The aircraft is fundamentally unsuited for the high-altitude interception role for which it was designed. America is still reeling from Pearl Harbor. Factories are being built. Workers are being trained. Production lines are being established. Canceling the P-39 means shutting down an entire manufacturing operation and starting over from scratch. The time lost would be measured in months. Perhaps years. So the factories keep running. Workers in Buffalo continue riveting together airframes, installing engines, mounting weapon systems on aircraft that American and British pilots refuse to fly. By spring 1942, hundreds of P-39s rolled off production lines with nowhere to go. They sit in storage fields across the country. Rows of unwanted fighters gathering dust while the war rages on without them. Then comes an unexpected solution. The Soviet Union, fighting desperately against the German invasion, needs aircraft. Any aircraft. Joseph Stalin makes it clear through diplomatic channels: fighters, bombers, tanks. Massive quantities. Immediately. The United States, eager to support its ally and keep the Eastern Front active, begins shipping military equipment through the Lend-Lease program. Among those shipments, hundreds of P-39 Airacobras that nobody else wants. American officials privately view this as disposing of an embarrassing mistake while technically fulfilling obligations to the Soviets. The thinking goes something like this. Send them the fighters we can't use. Keep the good stuff for ourselves. And hope the Russians find some use for them. If the P-39s prove as inadequate on the Eastern Front as they have in American hands, well, at least the losses won't be American pilots. The aircraft begin their journey in the most roundabout way imaginable. Loaded onto cargo ships in American ports. Sailed through U-boat-infested waters to Persian Gulf ports. Then disassembled and transported overland through Iran into southern Russia. The journey takes months. Many aircraft are damaged in transit. Some are lost to German submarines. But by late 1942, the first P-39s arrived. The air war over the Eastern Front is brutal, chaotic, and conducted primarily below 10,000 feet. German Stukas dive bomb Soviet positions at low level. Soviet Il-2 Sturmovix attack German tanks at treetop height. The desperate, swirling dogfights that characterize Eastern Front combat happen in thick air, where the P-39's Allison engine performs beautifully. The first Soviet units to receive the Airacobra treat it as an experiment. Pilots accustomed to flying the Lag-3, a wooden fighter that's underpowered and poorly armed, find the P-39 to be a revelation. That 37mm cannon can destroy a German bomber with a single well-placed shot. The aircraft's sturdy construction means it absorbs battle damage that would tear apart fragile Lags. And in the low-altitude environment where Soviet pilots operate, the P-39 is actually faster and more maneuverable than many German fighters. Senior Lieutenant Grigory Rechkalov. Among the first Soviet pilots to fly combat missions in the Airacobra. His initial assessment, filed October 1942, reveals the cultural differences in how pilots evaluate aircraft. The American machine is heavy but solid. It does not climb well, but it dives like a stone. The cannon is magnificent. Today I destroyed a Junkers Ju-88 with 3 shells. The entire tail section separated from the fuselage. This aircraft rewards aggression and punishes hesitation. That philosophy, aggression rewarded, hesitation punished, became the foundation of Soviet Airacobra tactics. Pilots learn to use the aircraft's strengths while avoiding situations that expose its weaknesses. They attack swiftly from advantageous positions. Fire that devastating cannon. Break away before enemy fighters can respond. In the hands of pilots who understand its capabilities, the P-39 transforms. From flying coffins to lethal predators. But one pilot is about to discover something that will make the P-39 legendary. Back in the United States, Bell Aircraft's engineers absorb lessons from the P-39's contradictory reputation. The aircraft's failures exposed critical design flaws. But its successes validated certain innovative concepts. The tricycle landing gear. Initially controversial. Proves far superior to conventional tail-dragging designs. Better visibility during takeoff and landing. Reduced ground accidents. Easier for inexperienced pilots to handle. The company begins work on an improved version. The P-63 King Cobra. Retains the P-39's basic layout but features a more powerful engine, improved aerodynamics, and modifications based on combat feedback from Soviet pilots. The P-63 never sees significant American combat service. But like its predecessor, it's shipped to the Soviet Union in large numbers. and proves highly effective in Soviet hands. More importantly, the lessons learned from the P-39's design influenced the next generation of American fighters. Tricycle landing gear became standard on virtually all subsequent American aircraft. The emphasis on pilot visibility becomes a priority. The concept of mounting heavy weapons in the nose influences armament choices for years to come. When Clarence Kelly Johnson began designing America's first operational jet fighter, the P-80 Shooting Star, in 1943, the aircraft that emerged bears striking similarities to the P-39's layout. Tricycle landing gear. Emphasis on pilot visibility. Engine behind the pilot, though this time necessitated by jet engine design rather than desire to mount a nose cannon. The P-80 represents everything the P-39 tried to be but couldn't quite achieve. Taking the good ideas. Eliminating the flaws. The connection isn't a coincidence. It's evolution driven by hard lessons learned from both failures and successes. The American machine taught me everything important about air combat. It rewarded skill and punished mistakes. It gave me the tools to survive and the weapons to destroy my enemies. Today, the few surviving P-39s sit in museums alongside Mustangs and Thunderbolts and other celebrated fighters of World War II. Museum placards typically describe it as an unsuccessful design that found unexpected success in Soviet service. That assessment, while accurate, misses the deeper significance. The P-39 represents something more fundamental than success or failure in combat. It represents the messy, complicated reality of technological development, where failures teach lessons just as valuable as successes. The fighter that nobody wanted ended up teaching American aviation designers everything they needed to know about building the world's finest aircraft. Its flaws exposed critical gaps in understanding. Its unexpected success demonstrated that design requirements must match operational reality. Its innovative features, refined and improved, became standard elements of jet fighter design. The flying coffin became the foundation for American air superiority in the jet age. 9,584 P-39 Airacobras produced. Most scrapped by 1950. Their influence on American aviation, permanent. Sometimes the machines we reject teach us more than the ones we embrace. And sometimes America's worst fighter becomes the weapon that changes everything.